Well, good morning, and welcome to the Rivers online worship experience. My name is Dean Ward, and I'm the lead pastor of the River, and I so appreciate you choosing to join in with us for our service here this morning. I want to welcome both our the River, our New Kensington campus, and also the River Franklin Park to this service today. And I'd like to invite both campuses, everyone viewing, to just take a minute and share this on whatever social media platform you're watching it on. If you're watching it at 10 a.m. or after on Sunday morning on our Facebook pages, I want to invite you just to share it. If you're watching it on YouTube, please copy the link and share it with your friends, your relatives, your neighbors, your co-workers, with anyone that you think would help. This would be helpful. And here's the thing. If you would share this every week with them, then when there's one that you really want them to hear that shows up, they won't think you're specifically talking about them. Hey, I am filming today outside a pool. This is a beautiful, magnificent pool. But I want to get in the pool. But I can't. I've tried to get in the pool. I called the front desk of the establishment, and they told me the pool's not open. And I said, well, can I just go in the room of the pool? And they're like, no, maybe you didn't hear, the room's not open. And I thought about calling a locksmith and trying to break into the room, but since I'm a pastor, and actually since I'm a follower of Christ, since that would be illegal, I'm not going to do that. But I really, really want to get into the pool, but I can't. I don't know if you've ever been at a place where you've really wanted something to happen and you've just given up. You just said, this is impossible. This isn't gonna work. Well, today we are in, I believe it would be part 6 of our series of messages just simply called Questions from God. And today we're looking at this question that Jesus asked a lame man sitting beside a pool. This simple question, and it's the title of the sermon: do you want to get well? This story is in John chapter 5. And I would like to just read the progression of this story as it goes. We'll begin at verse 1. It says, sometime later than what? Well, you have to read chapter 4 to find that out. Sometime later, Jesus went up to Jerusalem for one of the Jewish festivals. Now there is in Jerusalem, near the Sheep Gate, a pool, which in Aramaic is called Bethesda. Now, this story is known as the healing at the pool of Bethesda. And I love that name, Bethesda, that word Bethesda. I've often wondered about it because Walter Reed Naval Hospital is often referred to as the Bethesda Naval Hospital, and because it's in Bethesda, Maryland. But this word Bethesda, it means house of mercy or house of grace. And definitely mercy and grace shows up here today at this pool. And which this pool is surrounded by 5 covered colonnades. Here a great number of disabled people used to lie: the blind, the lame, the paralyzed. Now you'll notice on the screen that verse 4 doesn't really appear. It goes straight from verse 3 to verse 5. Well, that's because verse 4 is thought to have been added by a scribe to help make sense of why these people were around the pool. The reality is, in the oldest manuscripts we have available to us, this notation of verse 4 is not included, but I will include it just to help us understand. It's mentioned that it's thought that the scribe did this to help give some context to why all these people are around the pool, and I will share the deleted verse 4 with you to help provide that context as well. The deleted section of this says, "And they waited for the moving of the waters. From time to time, an angel of the Lord would come down and stir up the waters. The first one into the pool after such a disturbance would be cured of whatever disease they had." So this was part of the legend, part of the lore, part of the stories, part of the myth, the belief around this pool. And the scribe added this descriptive phrase, this statement in here to help us understand. Because if you would just go from verse 3 to verse 5, it would be a little confusing. But I'm sorry, I got us a little lost in the weeds there, but wanted to give you a little context. Verse 3 again. "Here, a great number of disabled people used to lie, the blind, the lame, the paralyzed." Verse 5, "One who was there had been an invalid for 38 years. Now, for me, 38 sounds young, especially at the age that I am. But I cannot imagine 38 years that this man endured as an invalid, unable to walk, lying on his mat at this pool for 38 years. When Jesus saw him lying there and learned that he had been in this condition for a long time, he asked him, "Do you want to get well?" That's a very powerful question. Oh, on the surface, that may look like, well, of course. That's an unnecessary question. Of course I want to get well. But what's interesting is to see how this man had given up hope to the point where getting well wasn't even on his radar screen, wasn't even a consideration. What was his desire to explain why he wasn't well. This man was filled with excuses. If you look at his response when Jesus asks him, he said, "Sir," the invalid replied, "I have no one to help me into the pool when the water is stirred." It's like he wants to play the excuse game. I can't do it. I have no one to help me. Here's why. No one is willing to help me. He comes up with this justification, this reason. While I am trying to get in, someone else goes down ahead of me. Almost as though he could be perceived as blaming others. Like, no one will help me. Everybody jumps over me. Everybody gets in before me. I've been here for 38 years. It's never worked out for me. I've never experienced the healing that I believe others have experienced. In some way, he was sitting there just waiting for some magical fix from these healing waters. And they brought him no healing. I don't know about you, but is there anywhere in your life that you have been waiting for healing? Healing in your soul, healing in your relationships, healing in your body, healing from the Lord. Is there anywhere in your life that you have been waiting for healing, that you have given up hope? Or perhaps you've tried other magical fixes that have not filled that need for healing. Perhaps you've had financial woes and you've been trying to win the lottery all the time. I mean, we all love to play the game. What would I do if I won the lottery? But when we count on it, when we bank on it, when we put our money into it and we're just waiting for that magical fix, we will be disappointed. Maybe we think, well, if I just got a new spouse, my current spouse isn't working out so well. If I just got a new spouse, that would fix everything. If I just buy that piece of exercise equipment that I watched at 2 a.m. on the infomercial, then it will happen. I want to invite us to look at the magical fixes that we're just waiting for, hoping for, and passively letting healing pass us by because we're looking for a magical fix. I love the way Jesus hears him. Jesus has compassion, mercy, and grace on him. And Jesus heals him. Although this healing is fairly interesting. He doesn't place his hands on him. He doesn't call, on the name of the Lord. Jesus just speaks to him. And he gives this man 3 directives. I want to invite you to watch this scene as it's portrayed in the series The Chosen. Season 2, episode 4 is the episode that tells the story, and it does it visually in such a compelling way. We watched this in our small group at the river a week ago, and it was riveting. And I want to invite you to go on the Chosen app. Go on your smartphone on the App Store, search for The Chosen, download it, and you can watch this for free. They're also on YouTube as well, Prime Video, other locations. I want you to see this visual depiction of what this healing may have looked like. It's very compelling. I want us to look at the 3 directives that Jesus gave this man. He looked at him, he was moved with compassion, and he just told him these 3 things. First of all, he said, stand up. Stand up. Those were the words of healing that Jesus brought to this man. Saying, you must make a move. You must take action to realize the healing that I am bringing to you. I want you to stand up. Where in your life have you been making excuses where you need God's healing? Where in your life have you been negligent in taking those steps of action to experience the healing that the Lord has available for you? I wasn't planning on telling this, but 32 years ago, I was in a pretty dark place. Actually, 31 years ago, I was in a pretty dark place. I just had my heart broken on Valentine's Day, and I knew that I was a mess emotionally. My pastor at the time, Steve Childs, and I were driving around a little before this, and he said, Dean, I'm really worried about you. And I knew that I had a tendency in the relationships that I was in to become addicted to the person that I was in. I was codependent and addicted, and I had to be around them or I was not well. I was in my early 20s, and after that heartbreak, I'm like, I got to do something. So I was told by a counselor of a class at the local community college called Addictive Relationships. So I enrolled in this class, and for 6 or 8 weeks, I went twice a week or once a week. I can't even remember now how frequently it was. And just did some real hard looking about why is it that I am not well unless I am in a relationship with a girl? Well, why is it that I am not well if when I am in a relationship with a girl, I'm not okay not to be with her and to be alone? Why is that? And it was not all that fun, but it was hopeful because I took action. I took a step. I moved forward, and I did experience healing in my life regarding this in notable, significant ways. How about you? Where in your life do you need healing? Perhaps you need to go see a doctor. Perhaps you've never gone to a doctor. I was sharing a meal with a friend this week that said, I was a long time, never went to a doctor in my life. Finally went, and he said, well, you got this issue and this issue and this issue. And he's been working on those issues for over a year, and he's doing much better. How about you? Perhaps you need to go to a chiropractor and get some healing that way. Perhaps you need to come to church and experience healing for your soul. Perhaps you need to move in a relationship in a way. Perhaps you need to go to a counselor. I think most of you may know, but maybe not. Grace Wellness Center is a counseling center that partners with both the River New Kensington and the River Franklin Park. And they offer counseling services at both of our campuses. And I know many people who have and are experiencing healing in their lives because they decided to take action and seek help. So I want to invite you to take action. I want to invite you to move toward healing that the Lord has for you by no longer just passively waiting. I love the way Jesus instructed this man to stand up. The second thing that Jesus instructed him to do was to take your mat. He instructed him to take your mat. Now, why is this significant? Well, his mat was probably pretty nasty and didn't need to be laying around the pool, although I don't think Jesus was really concerned that the pool might end up looking like the day after a Kenny Chesney concert somewhere. I don't think it was just for that reason. But this mat, this was his story. For 38 years, this was his story. And it's fascinating when you realize that for 38 years, his mat carried him. And now Jesus was telling him to carry his mat, to own his story. Because we each of us, we all have stories. And so often we want to hide our stories in shame. We want to pretend that they didn't happen. We want to just eliminate or erase them. But often our mess becomes our message. And Jesus was instructing him, take up your mat, because you are no longer bound by this past. You are no longer carried by your mat. You are carrying your mat. I want to invite you to own your story and allow God to redeem your story in a way that blesses, helps, and encourages others. I want to invite you to just take a moment and watch this video just simply called Our Stories.
Our stories are a collection of moments tucked away deep inside our hearts and minds. Moments from the past. For some of us, what happened in the past can limit our present or cloud the future. We hear a voice from within, a voice that says, "You are damaged goods. You are disqualified, weak." What this world sees as broken, Jesus sees as beautiful. Where culture sees defeat, Jesus sees potential. What society labels as rejected, Jesus offers redemption. The Bible tells us that Jesus uses the weak to shame the strong, and the foolish to shame the wise. When we're at our weakest, that's the very place we can tap into the strength of God. It's in this new perspective that we realize our past doesn't have to define us any longer, because we are the community of those who couldn't make the cut, the gathering of those not good enough. So may your grief bring about His goodness. May your pain bring out trust in His promises. The past that brought us shame can find renewal in one name: Jesus.
I hope that you enjoyed that video called Our Stories. And I hope that you allow the Lord to take your story and allow it to be a blessing to others. I'm filming the last part of my message at the entrance to Colonial Williamsburg. Now, I know last week I asked for suggestions of where to film some of my messages, and nobody said at Colonial Williamsburg. Well, I'm not on vacation. I experienced, as many of you know, a significant loss this week. My dad's older brother and only sibling, passed away last Sunday, and his funeral was today. We're filming this on Friday. And so my whole family came down with me to Colonial Williamsburg. He lives just a few miles from here. And I want to express my gratitude for you and for my church family and friends who have supported me strongly during this time of loss and grief in my life. You will never know how much it has meant to me. I filmed this section of the sermon at the entrance, at the sign for William and Mary College. It's the campus just 2 miles from my aunt and uncle's house. And it happens to be the oldest college in the United States, second only to Harvard. So that would make it the second oldest. It was founded, I believe, in 1693, if I remember the date correctly. That was a long time ago. Now, Pittsburghers, we are fond of William and Mary College, not because of its age, but because of its alumni. Yes. Can you remember who the most famous alumni of William and Mary College is to most Pittsburghers? Go ahead, let me hear you say it. Yes, that's right, Mike Tomlin. But I filmed there, and on a busy Friday afternoon, there was so much traffic, it was so distracting. The sound was awful, I was in the shade, and it just was not working out. So, decided to film here at the entrance to Colonial Williamsburg, this picturesque scene with the sign and the sidewalk and the building behind us. And so that's where I am. Thank you for your love and support. So Jesus was instructed Jesus instructed this man to stand up, to take his mat, and the third thing he told him to do is to walk. Walk. Jesus was saying, I want you to go into the new life that I have for you. You can't stay here. You can't stay here alongside the pool any longer. I want you to stand up. I want you to pick up your mat, and I want you to walk. I want you to walk into this new life I have for you. I love the way this story, this healing wraps up. Verse 9, it says, at once. He didn't wait any longer. At once, the man was cured. He picked up his mat and walked. At once, the man did exactly what Jesus had instructed him to do. He picked up his mat and walked. Sometimes we're reluctant to leave what's familiar. No matter how bad it is, no matter how damaging it is, no matter how toxic or unhealthy it is, at least it's familiar. And this man had spent 38 years laying by this pool in Bethesda. But don't let our hesitancy to leave what is familiar to keep us from exploring this abundant life that God has for us. Well, what if the man had said, thanks for the healing, Jesus. Now I can jump up and run into the pool faster than anyone else. But he stayed at the same place. What if he said, thank you, Jesus, but I'm good. I'm now going to just walk over and get a lawn chair and hang out by the pool for the rest of my days. This man was filled with new life and healing because of Jesus Christ, and he took advantage of that. Immediately, he got up, he picked up his mat, and he walked. I love the way Jesus asked him if he wanted to get well, because God doesn't impose healing on anyone. He makes it available to us, but he won't impose it on us. He asks each of us, do you want to get well? So where is it that you need to get well? Is it in your finances? Are your finances such a mess? Jesus is inviting you to get up, pick up your financial mess, and walk. Walk to somebody that can help you. Walk to somebody that can help you make sense of the mess that you've made and reorder your financial world. Perhaps it's relationally where you need healing. And Jesus is inviting you to get up, pick up your mat, pick up the mess, and walk. Walk toward healing. If reconciliation can be accomplished, then move toward that. If it would be damaging to you, put you at risk, then take a different path, but find healing in your relational world through Jesus Christ. Perhaps, as I mentioned earlier, physically, you've not given any attention to yourself physically. I want to invite you to get up, pick up your mat, and get the attention that you need. Go to an expert, someone who can help you navigate your physical condition and the better health and life that God has available for you. Perhaps you haven't been to church in years or decades. Maybe you've gotten just real sloppy with assembling together. I want to invite you to come back in the building. And I invite you to this because it's good for our souls. It's good for our souls to gather together, to worship the Lord, to be in community and learn and grow together. Now perhaps you're saying, I'm beyond that. I'm a lost cause. My faith is a mess. I'm sure God has given up on me because I've given up on myself. Well, just note, in this story, we have no account of the spiritual condition of this man. We don't know if he had faith or not. It's not obvious one way or another. But notice Jesus didn't come to him and said, fix your faith. He didn't come to him and say, I'm the Son of God. Accept me into your life. That wasn't his first move. He brought healing to someone who we have no idea may have had little or no faith whatsoever. So please, don't make an excuse for yourself that you're too bad, too unworthy, too much of a mess. You are the one that Christ came for. So I just want to ask, do you want to get well? If so, I want to invite you. Stand up, pick up your mat, and walk. Let's pray. Father, I pray for each one of us here today. Father, I pray that you would bring healing in our lives where we need it. And I pray, Lord, that we would follow your calling, prompting, leading, to not just passively wait, but to actively pursue healing in and through you. And may we courageously move in to what is not familiar, but what is good. We pray in your name.